All right, let's dive into the Mahabharata. We're going to be focusing on some pretty fascinating stories about tests and curses and triumphs and all from this huge epic. We're talking ancient India. So get ready for adventure meets, well, insight.
Yeah, what I really love about these stories is they're not just entertainment. They make you think about right and wrong, duty, desire. It's all about this thing called dharma. But it's a lot more complicated than just saying righteous conduct.
So dharma, like a cosmic rule book, keeps the universe in balance.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. But let's zoom in a bit. Instead of the cosmic scale, how does this play out in people's lives? Like kings, warriors, everyday folks.
Right. Okay. So we've got characters facing impossible decisions, students pushed to their limits, gods testing mortals.
Exactly. And how that idea of dharma changes depending on who you are, what you're dealing with. Let's start with tests, like the one Rishi Ayodhya gave his 3 disciples.
Rishi, that's like a sage or a teacher. Right. And this guy had some pretty interesting final exams.
You could say that. Each student got a challenge, like tailor-made for them, to help them grow. Aruni, for example, he had to fix a leaking canal. It was vital for the local farmers.
So essential to the community. I'm guessing a trip to Home Depot wasn't an option back then.
Nope. Aruni, he tried everything, but the canal was too damaged. So he plugged the hole with his own body, made sure the water flowed to the fields for hours.
Wow. Putting the community above himself, even his own safety.
Right. Selflessness, dharma in action. But Aruni wasn't the only one with a challenge. Upamanyu, another student, his test was about self-control. He had to tend cattle, find his own food, no begging allowed.
Whoa, tough. I can't even get through the grocery store without buying extra snacks. So how do you manage?
He tried everything. Drank cow's milk, even ate leaves, got temporarily blind. But through all that, he learned discipline, resourcefulness.
So a rough experience, but it built character. What about the third student, Veda?
Veda's test might sound simpler, but it was still important. He stayed at the ashram doing humble tasks. Perseverance, humility, service, all that stuff.
Okay, so 3 different tests, 3 different sides of dharma.
Yeah, showing it's not one size fits all. Understanding your place, your responsibilities, acting for the greater good. That's what it's about.
It reminds me of that archery contest, where Arjuna shows his skills. But I bet there's more to it than just hitting the target.
Oh yeah, this one's all about focus. Yeah. Dronacharya, the teacher, he's a master archer. He sets up this test. It's like, students got to shoot a bird's eye, high up in a tree.
Sounds tough. I can barely hit a stationary target, so what was the trick?
Before each shot, Dronacharya asks, what do you see? Most of them, they describe the tree, the leaves, everything but the target. Distracted.
Getting caught up in the details. I've been there. What about Arjuna?
When asked, Arjuna says, I see the bird's eye. Nothing else mattered. Hits it perfectly, of course.
And then Dronacharya says, that focus, that's what you need for anything worthwhile. Doesn't matter if you're an athlete or an artist,
Exactly. And that laser focus, it connects back to dharma. Dedicate yourself to something. Strive for excellence. That's how you contribute to the universe.
Like saying mastering any skill done right can be dharma. But let's shift gears to King Sibi. He was known for his righteousness, his generosity.
His story is all about what happens when dharma meets an impossible choice. Even kings get tested.
All right, I'm hooked. What kind of test are we talking about?
Picture this. King Sibi's in the middle of this big ritual sacrifice, a yagna. Suddenly, a terrified dove flies right into his lap looking for protection, but right behind it, a hawk wants its meal.
Oh, classic predator-prey. But something tells me there's more to it.
You got it. The hawk. It's Indra, king of the gods, in disguise. And the dove. Agni, the god of fire. They're testing Sibi. Big time.
Talk about pressure. A king stuck between 2 powerful gods. So what does he do?
He doesn't budge on protecting the helpless. Offers the hawk other food. Even says he'll give up some of his own flesh, equal to the dove's weight.
Whoa. Willing to cut himself? That's some serious dedication to protecting those in need.
And that willingness to sacrifice. That's the depth of his dharma. In the end, Indra and Agni reveal themselves, praise Sibi for his righteousness.
Powerful story. So dharma isn't just following rules, it's that strength of character to uphold them, even when things get crazy.
Exactly. That unwavering commitment, even with sacrifice. It's going to come up a lot in these Mahabharata stories, but as we'll see, it's not always so clear-cut.
You were saying that dharma, it isn't always so straightforward.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things like divine interventions, curses, those get thrown into the mix. Really makes you think about right and wrong, like the story of King Nahusha.
King Nahusha, what happened to him?
Well, let's just say he wasn't the best king. Ambition, arrogance, he even challenged the gods, ended up cursed.
Oh boy, what kind of curse?
Transformed into a serpent. Bit of a downgrade for a king. But it's not just about punishment, it's about redemption, too. That's where Yudhishthira comes in, the guy who's like Dharma personified.
Wait, Yudhishthira, the same one who gambled away his kingdom and his wife in that dice game. He's the hero here.
Yudhishthira, he's full of surprises. So during their exile, the Pandavas run into Nahusha, still a snake, of course. Turns out the only way to break the curse is to answer these super hard philosophical questions.
And who better than Yudhishthira, always the wisest of the brothers.
Right, so they have this deep debate all about the nature of a Brahmin, the importance of knowledge, all that heavy stuff.
And Brahmins, just so everyone knows, that's the priestly class.
Yeah.
Super respected for their knowledge and spiritual authority.
Yeah, so it wasn't just finding the right answers, it was about grappling with these huge ideas. And through that, Nahusha breaks free. Shows the power of knowledge, that whole philosophical side of Hindu tradition.
So even a cursed serpent, if he seeks wisdom, can find redemption. Like Dharma isn't just rules, but constantly seeking deeper understanding.
Absolutely. And this idea of divine testing, it pops up again with Yudhishthira. The Yaksha's questions, they call it, happens during their exile. When they're wandering in the forest, everything's going wrong.
So who's this Yaksha? Asking riddles. Some mystical forest creature.
Kind of. A nature spirit, yeah, often protects forests and lakes. But in this case, it's Dharma himself, disguised, putting Yudhishthira to the test.
No rest for the righteous, huh? Even in exile, what happens?
They're all thirsty, right? Come across this lake, but the Yaksha, he owns it, says, nope, not a drop unless you answer my questions.
Seems like every time the Pandavas need water, they end up in a philosophy seminar. What were some of these questions?
All about dharma, ethics, what's real, all that. Like, what's the greatest wonder in the world?
That's a tough one. What do Yudhishthira say?
He says, people die every day, but those left alive think they'll live forever. That's the greatest wonder.
Wow, that's deep. Makes you think about our own mortality, right?
But
anything else?
Oh yeah, tons. What's heavier than the earth? What's faster than the wind? All those tricky riddles.
How'd he answer those?
For the first, he says a mother's heart. For the second, the mind.
Beautiful answers. It's not just about knowing the rules, it's that empathy, that deep understanding of human nature.
Exactly. The Yaksha's pleased, they get their water. But then here's the twist. He offers to revive one of Yudhishthira's brothers, the ones who collapsed from thirst.
Tough choice. You'd think he'd pick one of his full brothers.
But he chooses Nakula, his stepbrother, says, fairness, justice, that's what matters.
Putting principles above everything, even when it's personal.
Showing that impartiality, true righteousness, makes you think, would W.E. make those same choices?
Yeah, a good reminder that true dharma, sometimes it means tough choices that maybe go against what you want or what people expect. But sometimes straying from that path, that's even worse, right?
Absolutely. And that's where the story of Parashurama's curse on Karna comes in. Karna, he's a complex character, skilled warrior, wants to prove himself, but flawed.
Karna, he's always seemed like such a tragic figure fighting against fate. What's his story?
So he's born with amazing abilities, but because of things he can't control, he's raised outside the warrior class. Wants to prove himself so badly, goes to Parashurama, this powerful warrior sage, but Parashurama only teaches Brahmins.
So Karna has to hide his true identity. Recipe for disaster, maybe.
You bet. He pretends to be a Brahmin, learns all this stuff, becomes amazing. But one day, Parashurama's resting on Karna's lap, an insect bites him.
Ouch. What'd he do?
Doesn't flinch, doesn't want to disturb his teacher, shows incredible resilience, respect, but that's what gives him away. Only a kshatriya, a warrior, could handle that pain.
Interesting, those old beliefs about different classes, different strengths. So Karna's caught. What happens?
Parashurama's furious, curses him, says the skills he learned will fail him at the worst possible moment. Devastating blow for Karna, his ambition leading him down this path of lies.
Classic example.
Right.
Even a good goal, if you're dishonest to get it, bad things can happen.
Exactly. Dharma isn't just the goal, it's how you get there, that integrity.
Aligning actions with values, even when it's hard. So we've got these stories where curses, divine stuff, complicate things. Are there times when even the best characters struggle with that?
Oh yeah. Mahabharat is full of stories challenging what's right and wrong, even for those known for their dharma. Like Yudhishthira's final test as he's going to heaven.
Another test.
Yeah.
This guy. After the dice game, exile, war, what now?
This one's about compassion, loyalty on a whole other level. He's heading to heaven and a stray dog starts following him, won't leave his side.
Oh, a loyal friend. What's wrong with that?
Indra, waiting to welcome him into heaven, says, nope, no dogs allowed, tells him to ditch the dog, come in alone.
Seriously, denied entry because of a dog? What does Yudhishthira do?
He refuses, says he can't abandon a creature that's been loyal, even if it means no heaven for him.
Wow, risking everything eternal bliss for a stray dog.
Nah.
That's true compassion. Dharma goes beyond rules, even the gods rule.
Exactly. Yudhishthira shows what it really means to be righteous. It's more than just pleasing the gods.
It's about those choices that align with your deepest values, even when they seem crazy.
And you know what? The dog. It was Dharma himself, in disguise, testing Yudhishthira one last time.
Amazing. So staying true to his compassion, even when it seemed like he was losing everything, that's what made him pass. Sometimes the hardest choices, they reveal who we truly are.
Exactly. The message here, true Dharma, it means extending compassion to all beings, no matter what.
It's like sometimes the most unexpected companions, they teach us the biggest lessons about loyalty, compassion, what righteousness really is. But are there stories where it's even more complicated? Where doing what seems right has consequences you don't expect?
So it seems like the Mahabharata, it's full of these situations where even good intentions can have, unexpected consequences. Are there any stories that really show that?
Oh, tons of them. It really emphasizes how everything's connected. Actions have these ripple effects, not just on one person, but families, future generations, the whole thing.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Got an example of that, those interconnected consequences.
Yeah, let's talk about Kadru and Vinata.
Yeah.
Two sisters, married to the same sage, but their rivalry, oh boy, it caused some serious problems. So what were they fighting about? Some magical treasure? A handsome prince? Spill the tea.
It was all about a horse's tail. Ucheshravas, the celestial horse, they argued about the color of its tail. Kadru said black, Vinata said white. This seems pretty minor, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. But in a myth, I bet that horse's tail is more than just a tail. So what happened?
Well, Kadru, she really wanted to win, so she cheated. Her sons, they were serpents. She got them to wrap around the horse's tail, made it look black. Vinata, she was horrified, lost the bet, ended up a servant.
That's a huge EE consequence for his silly bet. What's the lesson here? It can't just be about sibling rivalry.
It's about how jealousy, that need to win no matter what, it makes you compromise your values. And Vinata, she shows how even a little dishonesty can have these huge, awful consequences.
Like a domino effect. One bad choice setting off a whole chain of events.
Yeah, and this karma playing out across generations, you see it even more in the story of Takshaka, the sneaky serpent, and King Parikshit, Arjuna's grandson.
Ooh, revenge stories are always good. What's the deal with them?
Takshaka had a grudge against Parikshit's family, something from the past. Then Parikshit, he accidentally insulted a sage, gave Takshaka the perfect chance to get revenge.
Wait, insulting a sage equals snake revenge. How'd that happen?
The sage's son, he was furious, cursed Parikshit to die from snakebite 7 days. That's all he had. Now Parikshit, he was smart, tried to outsmart fate.
I can see him thinking, avoid snakes for a week, I'm good. So what did he do?
Built this super protected tower, figured no snakes could get in there, thought he had it figured out.
Seems pretty foolproof. But I bet Takshaka wasn't giving up that easily.
Nope. Takshaka, he was crafty, turned himself into a tiny worm, hidden in a piece of fruit, got presented to the king as a gift.
Oh no,
Wow.
Like a Trojan horse, even with all that planning, couldn't escape his fate.
Right. Takshaka's plan worked, Parikshit got bitten, the curse came true. It shows how revenge, it goes on, and those unexpected consequences, they can stretch across generations.
Karma's a complicated thing, huh? Hard to escape. Makes you think carefully about the choices you make.
For sure. These stories, they're like, hey, think about how your actions affect things. Try to make choices that bring harmony for you and for everyone else.
So we've got ambition, deception, karma.
Yeah.
But the Mahabharata, it also has love, adventure, divine stuff happening. Any other stories that show, how diverse it is?
Oh, so many. We could talk for hours about all the different stories and characters. Like Shakuntala, she was abandoned as a baby, raised by a sage in the forest.
Okay, that's interesting. What happened to her?
She grows up, kind, beautiful, falls in love with King Dushanta. But because of fate, a sage's curse, the king forgets about her and their son.
That's rough. Love, loss, memory, the whole deal. Happy ending though, right?
Yes. Years later, they're reunited, the king remembers, their love comes back. It's a story about how strong love can be and how important it is to recognize the people who matter most.
That's nice. Love and connection, They win out even when things are tough. What about something really epic, like the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean? That's always fascinated me.
Yeah. The Samudra Manthan, it's this huge cosmic event. Shows how gods and demons can work together, but also compete. They use a mountain as a churning stick, a giant snake as the rope, all to get these treasures from the ocean.
Treasures? Like what? Gold? Magic weapons?
Think bigger. The moon, a wish-fulfilling tree, even Amrita, the nectar of immortality.
Wow, immortality. I can see why they go to all that trouble. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, right? There had to be some danger involved.
You got it. While they're churning, this super deadly poison comes up. Could have destroyed everything. Shows that even going for something good, like immortality, there can be risks, consequences.
So who saved the day? Another hero with perfect dharma.
This time it was Shiva, the god of destruction. He drank the poison, held it in his throat so it wouldn't spread. That's why he's called Nilkantha, the blue-throated one.
That's intense. Even the gods have to make tough choices, take on burdens to keep things balanced.
The Samudra Manthan, it's full of symbolism, you know? Creation and destruction, power, sacrifice.
Makes you think, even when you're going for something huge, gotta be careful. Act responsibly. We've only just touched on a few stories. There's so much more to the Mahabharata.
Yeah, just a taste. There's Garuda, the bird who frees his mom, Amba, who gets reborn to get revenge, so many more. Each one teaches you something about people, dharma, fate, free will.
We could do several more deep dives, but before we go, I gotta ask about the 7 Chiranjeevis. They're those figures who live super long lives, right?
Yep. Considered immortal, live across different ages. Hanuman, the monkey god, Vyasa, who wrote down the Mahabharata, even Ashwatthama, Drona's son, curse to live forever because of what he did in the war.
Eternal life is a curse. That's heavy. Each one of them seems to represent something, devotion, wisdom, the consequences of choices.
Yeah, like certain qualities, they last through time.
Wow, we've covered a lot. Tests, cosmic events, revenge, love, redemption. The Mahabharata has it all. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
It's full of wisdom, stuff that's still relevant today. It makes you think about right and wrong, strive to be your best, be kind to everyone. But maybe the biggest thing is it shows that life's a journey, full of choices, consequences, and every decision we make, it shapes our lives and indeed the world around us.
That's a great way to put it. The Mahabharata, it's more than just a story. It's like a mirror reflecting humanity, a guide to life's challenges, a source of wisdom that still inspires us. If you want to really explore ancient Indian thought, check out the Mahabharata. You won't regret it.
It's a journey that'll open your mind, challenge your ideas, maybe even inspire you to live a better, more dharmic life. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.